close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to the Star Sport Podcast. My name is Jack McCarran of the Southern Star, and I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. On today's podcast we'll be chatting to Cork and Clonakilty footballer Seán White about his lockdown experience has been so far, Cork's season before it was put on hold, and the conveyor belt of talent that Clonakilty has been producing in recent years. But before we hear from Seán, we have to quickly revisit last week's podcast and the comments heard around the world.
Yeah, he's top class in terms of pure ability and just sheer skill and technique level. He's probably easily the best player I've ever played with to date. He's just got that gift that he runs quicker with the ball. When he kind of faces someone up, you're in real trouble. He's skipping by the best players in this league so easily. Until I've kind of played with him and how he's developed over the kind of 3 years I've been here as well, he's taken his game to a new level over the last couple of years, especially in this league, in the Premiership. I felt like in the Championship last year he was the real catalyst for us when he came back from injury, and a lot of people say that. But he's taken his game to a new level since he's come to the Premier League and took it by storm, really. And, you know, England team and getting that big move is only a matter of time because, you know, if I'm being brutally honest, he's too good for our kind of our team, Aston Villa.
Yes, that was, of course, Aston Villa and Ireland midfielder Conor Hourihane lavishing praise on his Villa teammate Jack Grealish, calling him the best player he's ever played with. But Kieran, some people didn't read those comments a little differently, didn't they?
They did, yeah, Jack. I suppose our interview with Conor Hourihane last week made worldwide headlines. It's no exaggeration to say that. It was picked up on Sky Sports, BBC, Manchester Evening News, French publications. I even saw some Polish sport website kind of take it as well. So, excuse me. So basically what Conor said, which probably riled a couple of Villa fans, or a lot of Villa fans, was that Jack Grealish is probably too good for this Villa team and that he probably is deserving of a big move. And what's key in all this, Jack, is that when Conor said Jack Grealish is too good for this Villa team, he was talking the truth. If we're looking at it kind of without emotion, Jack Grealish is Aston Villa's best footballer. They're currently 19th in the Premier League. They're in a relegation scrap. He is the best player on that team. He's proved it in the Premier League this year, so he probably does deserve to kind of display his wares at a bigger club. And as big as Aston Villa are, and they are a big team, there are bigger clubs than Villa out there. So Conor's quotes, I think, caused consternation amongst Villa fans, but then people who aren't Villa fans or every other fan could kind of see what Conor was saying and how much it made sense. But
just
it did cause a bit of a backlash.
Just to stay on his actual comments for a second, like, I think some of them may have been read incorrectly by the Villa fans. Like, he was at pains to say Jack Grealish is too good for this Aston Villa team. He never said he's too good for this club, or he never belittled Aston Villa as a club, because, you know, fans are more interested in the history of the club. So if he was to say he's too big for Aston Villa, the club, I could probably see why there was anger. But the fact that he said team, so this current Aston Villa team, he wasn't saying Jack Grealish was like Aston Villa was some small town club. So I don't think he actually degraded the club itself, specifically the current Aston Villa team, which, as you mentioned, are languishing at the bottom of the Premier League. So what he said was true, but I can see how some Villa fans picked it up wrongly. So you have to have a bit of sympathy for the fans, but a lot of sympathy for Conor, because he was caught in the middle of a shitstorm basically. And as you mentioned, there was articles on Turkish newspapers, Irish newspapers all around the country, all the English newspapers, the Daily Mail, the Sun, as you mentioned, Manchester Evening News, Birmingham Mail. And it is funny how in this time without live sport, how a small one comment on our podcast can make headlines all around the world.
That's exactly it, Jack, because there is no live sport at the moment. There's no Premier League football at the weekend. So every media organisation, every sports news organisation, they're looking for a story. And Conor's quotes presented him with a story that they just ran with. Like you said there, I think it's unfortunate the way it kind of developed for Conor and through social media. And we both know how social media works, and all our listeners do as well. Kind of everybody's entitled to their opinion, but a shitstorm is the right way to describe it, because that snowballed so fast. You know, kind of it snowballed out of control so fast without. I suppose Conor didn't even have a chance, or if he doesn't want to kind of explain himself, because I think in the quote itself, like you said, he mentioned the word team. He's too good for this team. And I have to say, when Conor joined Villa, I remember talking to him back in January 2017, he was amazed at the size of Aston Villa. Like he said, once he joined the club, you realise, Jesus, this is a big football club. So Conor would never, ever kind of play down the size of Aston Villa. He knows how big the club is, how important the club is. And he was talking in relation to the current team. So just interesting, Jack, to see how like you said there, how 1 5-second clip on our Star Sport podcast, suddenly it's a headline on Sky Sports News. When you see Sky Sports News stories saying, as Hourihane told Irish newspaper The Southern Star, you're kind of, Christ, this developed quickly.
But yeah, Sky Sports News, they did reference us in their piece, but they took 6 paragraphs worth of quotes directly from the podcast and then didn't link back to the podcast. So like, in an age of new media where multiple news sites take stories from each other, the kind of general ethic, or the general ethics of it, are that you actually put an internal link in your story to give full credit to where the quotes came from. But even the likes of Sky Sports News weren't interested in that. The Sun had no interest in linking back to us. Again, they just said, speaking to an Irish podcast, this kind of stuff. Like, I'll give a shout out to the Mirror and Balls.ie. They did include links back to our podcast. So any listeners who came from the Mirror or Balls, thanks for coming. But no, I'm not happy with Sky News. Even our Cork brothers, the Examiner, I didn't see any link on their website either. They did reference the fact that it was the Southern Star. But it's also funny that you mentioned like how fans react on social media. You see it with the Villa fans in particular. They were having conversations amongst each other because the clip was out there. But I looked at some of the conversations between fans, and one fan would say, Conor Hourihane said this, that and the other. And then some other fan would say, oh, I doubt he ever said that. Where did you see that? And then the other fan would reply back, some Irish podcast, And so the Southern Star, within 5 minutes, went from being a bastion of history in West Cork, 130 years old, to some Irish newspaper to Villa fans the world over. But it was, I have to say, kind of fun to be in the middle of the shitstorm just to see how it develops. It's interesting from, obviously, my profession is digital media, so to just track how it went from, as you said, a 5-second clip to within 6 hours. It was in newspapers in Turkey and Poland. But it was interesting, and I think all we can say is Conor's words were basically taken out of context and it all blew up. But Kieran, we're going to move on to this week now. Enough talk about viral social media clips, and you got the chance to speak to Cork and Clonakilty footballer Seán White over Zoom last night. How was Seán keeping? I assume he's keeping fit during the lockdown.
Seán's one of the Clonakilty fellas involved in the Cork senior football team. He's brother to Mark White, who was a Cork goalkeeper the last couple of years. Mark stepped back from the Cork squad this year because he was going to go to America, San Fran for the summer, but obviously the COVID-19 kiboshed that. So it was a chance to catch up with Seán White. He's based up in Cork at the moment. He's still working away, so he's in a house on his own. So we got to chat about Cork football season, training in lockdown, the Clonakilty conveyor belt that is producing top-class footballers at the moment. There's Seán White, Mark White, Thomas Clancy, Liam O'Donovan. That's with the Cork seniors. You'd Maurice Shanley with the Cork under-20s last year. You'd Dan Peat with the Cork minors. So Clonakilty is good conveyor belt going on there at the moment. And we also talked about Ozark, and I quizzed him on his hair as well. But back to Ozark for a second, Jack. I might have mentioned on this podcast the last couple of weeks, I'm new to the world of Netflix. I was slow to probably depart with my €12 a month being a Kerryman and being tight as I am, but I finally taken the plunge with the lockdown, and it's the best 11-12 euro I've spent, I think, in a long time. So first it was Tiger King, brilliant. Sunderland Till I Die, superb. And we're just finished the second season of Ozark, and what a show, absolutely brilliant. And Seán White has just finished the second season of Ozark as well. So from talking about football to talk about Marty Bird and Windy Bird, and then we talk about hair. Kind of two of us aren't ones to talk about our haircuts, especially you, Jack, because what's nesting on your head at the moment could almost I don't know what to say about it at this stage. It's just taken on a life of its own. But Seán White, 7 or 8 weeks into lockdown, still has a very tidy head of hair on him, and I couldn't but notice that when we were chatting on Zoom last night. So I kind of quizzed him on his hair routine, just to see how a fella's hair is looking so good this far into lockdown. So as you can gather, we talked about a lot of things, but first we started talking about his thoughts on whether the GA season will come back online this year. Thanks for coming on the show, Seán. Just to check first, are you home in Clonakilty, you up in Cork City, or where are you based these times?
I'm actually in Cork, so I have a house in Wilton at the moment. So there's actually 4 of lads all from home in Clonakilty. So I'm the only one in the house at the moment, so it's actually not too bad. So yeah, I'm in Cork, but everyone else seems to be at home. So
you've the house to yourself so for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's definitely a bit of a change to the usual buzz that'll be around here, but no, it's grand to get used to it.
It is it's just unprecedented times for everyone. I think no one ever expected to have a year like this. Before we talk about Clonakilty and Cork football, just on, I suppose, what's going on with the coronavirus and the GA at the moment. It's so uncertain. We don't know if there will be a GA season. If there is, when it will be, what it'll look like. So for you as a senior county footballer, how hard is it to train and keep training for a kind of a moving target?
I suppose it is difficult, but I suppose our trainings and stuff at the moment they're kind of being looked after by all our kind of gym instructors and stuff. So I suppose it's tough for them as well. They're trying to kind of gauge when the championship or when the league might even kick off again. So I suppose everything is kind of being tailored towards something, but you just don't know when the something is coming really. So we're just kind of, you're still kind of trying to keep yourself fit, and just in case something does kind of come around the corner quicker than we thought. But no, I can imagine the trainers must be, I'd say they're talking every single day of the week, just trying to figure out how they can kind of keep us fit and keep us kind of involved and stuff. But definitely at the moment they're doing a great job anyway, so hopefully we can keep it going.
Like I was saying, it's kind of very uncertain times. We don't know what's going to happen. So what are your own thoughts? Do you think you'll get to play football at some point of the year? If you do, will it be county or club? Or
to be honest, I'm not really sure, but I'd be hoping we would anyway. Either way, club or county, hopefully we'll get to play some sort of football. I'd imagine it'll be a lot easier to get the club back going as a start anyway. So I don't really know how they'll get it all back together, but hopefully by the how things are going at the moment, hopefully there'll be a bit of an improvement over the next few weeks, and give us a bit of a clearer picture then about the rest of the summer, I suppose.
I suppose behind closed doors has been mentioned as well and mooted as a possibility. What are your own thoughts on that? Would you play away behind closed doors?
I'd definitely play if the competition was there, right? But I suppose it would definitely be it'd be a new one for most people. I know when we play challenge matches and stuff up the country, there's sometimes the games can kind of flatten out a bit, and you'd just be almost afraid that it could have the same kind of atmosphere as kind of a friendly game, and but like I even saw a couple of the Italian soccer matches there before they kind of went on a break, and you kind of hear the managers roaring in and stuff. So it was a bit of a weird situation, but if it was the only way to play it, I suppose I'd be all for it, yeah.
I suppose if the stadium was very quiet, we'd probably hear Cian O'Neill shouting in from the sideline, I think.
Yeah, they're always words of encouragement though, so we'd hear him right.
Just even before we talk football, what do you do to kind of, like you said, you're in the house in your own up in Cork City, you're obviously kind of working from home and you're training away. Outside of that, how do you keep yourself busy? Are you watching Netflix? How are you entertaining yourself both?
So I'm still working, like my company is still fully working full time, so I'm still doing a full working week, and then just trying to get out in the evenings, really running and stuff, and then watch a bit of Netflix, a few series here and there, but just working. Thankfully I'm still fully kind of doing a full week's work, so it kind of keeps me busy mostly anyway.
your club and county teammate Thomas Clancy recommended Friends with a feature in the Star, the last edition of the Star, kind of Netflix recommendations from 10 West Cork sports people, and Thomas went for Friends. So if you were to pick a Netflix recommendation for the listeners, what would you go for?
I'm actually watching Ozark there at the moment. So yeah, I just finished season 2, so that's actually a fairly good one. So I definitely recommend it. I know a couple of my friends at home have watched it as well, and they've all talked very highly of it. So that's definitely one on the list if anyone's looking for something to watch.
I'm actually going to second that. We just finished season 2 last night. We watched the season 2 finale, so we're going to start tucking into series 3 from tonight. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's such a good show. Yeah,
it's very good. It's for something that's kind of so far away from what would be happening in everyday life, they kind of relate it to everybody, I suppose. People in it are so normal, so I suppose you can just kind of relate to the people that are in it, really.
Good stuff. And like we said, football-wise, the Cork footballers, you were going so well, Seán, before the season was kind of, I suppose, put on hold due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You were 5 from 5 in Division 3 of the Football League, on the cusp of promotion and on the cusp of getting a place in the Division 3 League final. And now, like I said, it's on pause. But how much can you take from those first 5 games, kind of the positives that you can take?
I think, yeah, as you say, we were definitely kind of getting up a bit ahead of steam. I suppose it's a bit unfortunate the way things have kind of petered out, especially considering we don't know how it's going to, if we do start playing football again, will the league be finished out or what'll happen it. But I suppose in terms of kind of getting players who wouldn't have played much at senior intercounty level or senior level before and things, I know there's a lot of new lads who say have got a winning mentality now, just, they've experienced it, and especially some of us as well haven't ever won that many games in a row with Cork. So it definitely brought a good bit to the group, and just hopefully now if there is a championship or a league for the rest of the summer, that we might be able to continue the winning form really if we could.
So if you even go back to last summer, with Cork getting into the Super 8s for the first time, and the big game experience of playing the Dublins and the Tyrones up in Croke Park, and then going into the league then, and like you said, five wins in a row, like you're building momentum. Like in the last 12 months, we've definitely seen the kind of, you've turned the ship in the right direction and you are moving forward.
Yeah. I think it was kind of well documented there last year, around, I don't know, it was in March or April, that we kind of, as a group of players and management, kind of came together and just kind of changed a few things, and just it kind of started going our way, and we carried that through the summer then, and thankfully it's kind of passed over again to this year, because especially with a lot of new faces from the under-21s and stuff, or the under-20s last year, but they would have brought in obviously their own kind of positivity and things from an under-20 All-Ireland. So yeah, the group of players now that we have at the moment seems to be gelling well together, so hopefully kind of keep it going for whenever we do return.
One of the big additions this season was Ciarán Sheehan. What's it like to have him back in the fold? It was your first time playing with him with Cork, but he seems like he's had a huge impact.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. His experience and kind of his level-headedness, to be fair, in the dressing room when, we might be under a bit of pressure there. Even the first game against Offaly, we went in at half-time, we were down a point. But, Ciarán just settled the ship straight away. I think he kicked 2 great scores in the first half that day. So it's definitely great to have him on board, as his experience and everything. He's a great asset to have for us.
And some of those Cork under-20s off last year too, kind of Conor Hourihane really was making his mark, and Damien Gore as well. And what was great to see, I thought, Seán, was like you're bringing in young fellas who are now used to winning. Like Cork won the minor last year, won the under-20. So these fellas are coming onto the senior setup now with a bit of kind of cockiness is the wrong word, but they know how to win big games. They've won big games in Croke Park, and that could only be good for the entire squad to have this youth, this confident youth coming in.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I suppose the lads who would have come in from the 20, they've kind of blended in straight away. And, even minors who would be going up to under 20 now, they have as you said, the winning mentality as well. And like winning is a habit. So I suppose it's just all about trying to kind of get everyone together in the winning mentality and then just keep pushing forward. But definitely the under-20s who came in this year have added a lot to the group.
And Cian O'Neill was a big addition to the backroom team too. We had a good chat with him for an interview in the Star a couple of weeks ago, and I touched base with a couple of your teammates, and everybody mentioned he's game specific, match specific in terms of how he sets up training and all that. He seems really to have been a big addition to the Cork management team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can definitely echo what the lads were saying. All our trainings are game specific. We wouldn't really, like, we have drills and stuff, but they'd always be tailored towards match intensity and kind of match specific areas that would happen on the pitch. So it's definitely a first kind of doing all our trainings like that. But it's definitely beneficial to us anyway. Well, it seems to be working at the moment anyway for us, so hopefully it'll keep going.
So how much of a shame was it that momentum just Cork just couldn't build on it, kind of brought it up to a certain point and just ready to kick on? And like, we should be here talking about the Cork Kerry Munster semi final in a couple of weeks. It was due on quite soon, I think, wasn't it? The semi final in Park Eden, and here we are now, kind of not knowing what's happening. So like, you had such momentum built up, and that's, I suppose, there's been a pin put in that for the time being.
Yeah, exactly. So I suppose it's just the way it all kind of ended. So suddenly, I mean, we trained on I think it was a Tuesday with the intention of playing Louth in Cork then on the Sunday. But that was it then. We didn't train anymore after that. It was just kind of cut short, and we were kind of told that was that. But I suppose the thing is that everybody in the country is kind of in the same position as us. You know, they're all kind of waiting. So it's not like anybody has any sort of an advantage now at the moment, or when things do kick up. So I suppose it's just trying to kind of keep fit and kind of, you know, keep the whole group mentality kind of strong, and just keep everyone together over the next couple of weeks, so that if we do get back training, that we'll all be ready to go when we do start.
We mentioned Clonakilty there earlier. If football does come back, a lot of people are saying it could be club football that comes back first. Obviously, a good few kind of Clon fellas in with the Cork team. What are your hopes for this Clon team at the moment? There's a couple of additions from Kerry too, isn't there? Kind of Darragh O'Shea and Joe Grimes, is it? Yeah. So how are you shaping up for this season, Seán?
As I say now, it'll kind of depend on the way the season goes for us as well with Clan. But I'd be hoping, Joe, we've kind of been knocking around the door of the quarter-final stages the last 2 or 3 years. We just can't seem to get over that level, really. I think we were kind of lacking. I don't know what it really was. I suppose we had a young team over the last few years. We were just maybe a small but off the top teams, but our management and stuff have definitely pulled together a stronger group now this year again, and hopefully we can kind of push on again. But yeah, we'll be definitely aiming to go at least the same level as last year, and hopefully a bit further as well.
What were your own thoughts on the kind of the new county championship format here in Cork? Kind of everyone seems to be everyone was very much in praise of it, kind of with the group stages and guaranteed 3 games, and then moving on to the knockout stages. Was it something that you were really looking forward to?
I was really looking forward to it, to be honest. I thought it was a bit of a pity the way things have gone now. But yeah, no, I don't know how if we do get to play football, I don't know, will they keep the same format for over the summer or what? But I definitely think it would have been an improvement anyway. It would have made all the kind of games a lot more. I suppose they would have been a lot closer. Well, maybe not a lot closer, but they would have been. You know, there would have been, I suppose, a bit more of an intensity to every game. So I suppose, I definitely was in favour of it. And
what's the secret in Clan these past couple of years? Because you're churning out county players from Maurice with the under-20s, and obviously David Lowney, yourself, Mark, and so on. It's a club producing top-class players. What's the secret? Can you share it to the rest of the clubs in West Cork so they can tap into it?
I'm not sure there's any secret, to be honest. I think there's a lot of lads. Since we've been kind of all younger, there's just been good core couple of years coming up there, and everyone's just kind of rowing in behind each other, so it's definitely benefited us as well, and it's definitely looking like it's benefiting all the kind of Clan footballers at the moment as well. You know, the way we're pushing on a bit further every year, so hopefully we can just keep going a bit further now this year.
Like we said, the next couple of weeks, obviously this kind of lockdown phase, we're gone for another couple of weeks. I have to say, your hair is looking a lot better than my hair at the moment. My hair is resembling a bird's nest. What's the secret to this, Seán? Because for 7-8 weeks in, your hair's looking great.
Jeez, I don't know, is it now at all? I just kind of flattened down there. If I was out in the wind now to be all over the place, you wouldn't be saying that. I don't know, I'd say in the next couple of weeks now, if there's no let up, I'll probably have to take a razor to it myself. So we'll have to see how that goes.
I have to say, you're doing a lot better than I am. I'm very close to wearing a hat. It's at that stage now. There's no way I'm going to last to July 20th. But come here, Seán, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll be chatting about Cork and club football in the next couple of months.
Hopefully, yeah. Perfect. Thanks, Kieran.
Thanks for listening to the Star Sport Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to all things sport in West Cork. Don't forget to pick up this Thursday's Southern Star newspaper, including our award-winning sports section with everything a West Cork sports fan could want. In shops across West Cork and online from anywhere in the world via www.thesouthernstar.ie/e-paper. The Southern Star and the Star Sport Podcast, #1 for sport in West Cork.
Welcome back to the Star Sport Podcast, and before we finish up this week, as always, we're going to preview what's to come in Thursday's Southern Star Sports section. And Kieran, you were telling me some of the features that you have coming up. One in particular about a Skibbereen man on the comeback trail from injury.
Yeah, I've caught up with Donald O'Connett, the O'Donovan Rossa senior football captain, to chat about his comeback from a cruciate ligament injury. Caught up with Donald because it's almost 12 months to the day, Jack, since he ruptured his cruciate ligament. It was May 12th, 2019, in a Kelleher Shield game between Skib and Valley Rovers when Donald O'Connett went over and his left knee crumbled and he ruptured, clean rupture of his cruciate ligament, and that started the long comeback then. So from the operation to his rehab and so on, and he was actually targeting a Kelleher Shield game this month to come back, but obviously with COVID-19 and the GA season on hold, Donald doesn't yet know when he'll be back on the football field. There's the chance it could be hopefully towards the end of the year. So it's a good chat with Donald Oak. He's one of the top club footballers in the county, to be quite honest with you. And it's always a kind of an amazement to me how he never made it at senior intercounty level with Cork, because he is that good. He was on the extended panel for 4 years, from 2014 through to 2017, but it just never happened to him. Never happened for him. Whether the Cork management didn't get the best out of him, they played him out of position at certain times. Probably a bit of blame can be apportioned on Donald too. Maybe he didn't grab his chance as much as he could have, but he's a really talented, gifted forward. Could play in midfield too. He's one of those footballers, Jack, that you just love to watch. He's I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but he always reminded me of a Kerry footballer. He's that bit of class and talent about him. He makes the game look easy. He's just that the Kerryness about the way he plays football. So yeah, it's a two-page feature with Donald Oak. So that's well worth picking up this week's star. Or as well as that, and we just heard from Seán White there, but Ger McCarthy caught up with Sean's brother Mark White on Mark's reasoning for not being involved with the Cork Senior Football panel this year, because he wanted to go to America, and obviously that's fallen through now. So Mark is talking about just concentrating on club football for the moment. He's not going to go back in with Cork until next year. So good stuff by Mark White. I've also kind of a look at how the local GA clubs, Jack, are doing great stuff at the moment in terms of fundraisers for local hospitals and charities and so on. So between O'Donovan Rossa and Bantry Blues are doing the Run in Darkness and in Light this weekend for Pieta House, to a great cause to get in to support. Castlehaven are doing a big fundraiser this Sunday as well. Clonakilty GA Club in Kilmeen, they did big fundraisers last weekend and raised some huge money. So did Adrigole. So a lot of GA clubs are doing great stuff at the moment. So I have a collection of what they're doing, how you can support them, and so on. That's in this week's Star. As well as that, I've caught up with Catherine Cohan, her name is. She's a car woman who's based down in Australia now, and she's an athlete who won 4 medals at the Oceania Masters Championships in the Southern Hemisphere late last year. She won 2 gold and 2 silver. So it's a West Cork woman kind of flying the West Cork flag on the international athletic scene down in Australia and New Zealand. So really interesting story by Catherine there. So that's well worth checking out. Another couple of highlights. I've caught up with Inya Breen, our Munster and Ireland rugby star from Skibbereen Rugby Club, who celebrated her 21st birthday in lockdown. So that's there. We've a lot more besides that as well, including an interview with James O'Donovan of Bandon GAA and road bowling fame. And this is on the road bowling he was talking about. And Martin Walsh is a lovely tribute to a Welsh rally driver who passed away last week. He's John Price, who has a great association and affinity with West Cork. So we've plenty going on in this week's Southern Star, Jack. And as always, great value, and you'll tell us about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for, Kieran, to shill for the cause. And the Southern Star will be available in shops across West Cork and beyond for only €2.20. And if you can't make it to the shops, you can purchase a digital subscription and read the Southern Star for less than €2 per week on your computer, tablet or smartphone. Just log on to www.thesouthernstarTV/e-paper. But that's it for this edition of the Star Sport Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll be back at the same time next week, and if you enjoy these shows, I want to reiterate this part this week because we've seen a drop off in the number of reviews and ratings we've been getting across the platforms. Not a drop off in listens, but I think most of the people who initially left us reviews and ratings have done so. So we need more reviews. We need more 5-star reviews in particular. Maybe don't go giving us too many 1 or 2 star reviews, but we need your 5-star reviews on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. And if you're on YouTube watching, hit the subscribe button down here if I'm doing that correctly. That's how I see some of the YouTube kids doing it these days. Or on Acast or Stitcher, leave us a review as well. Thanks for listening.